I just got one of those new iPhones, and it looks a whole lot better than what I used to use. It's crazy. So we're out here in the garage. We're working on a Midi programmable switcher rig, and we're going to be going through some of the best practices. I'm still in the process of assembling, so we'll do some more assembly on this. We'll get maybe a little bit into the Midi wiring. We have lots of different Midi here. We have some traditional Midi, we have some 1/8 inch Midi, we have some 1/4 inch TRS Midi, like here and here. So lots of different varieties of Midi, so we can get into some of those best practices and tools and materials. I'm also working on an interface box right here that I'll be taking to Sweetwater, so we kind of have a potpourri of things to work on. And of course, if you have questions as we go, you're welcome to put those in the chat, and we'd be happy to answer them. And if you want to super chat, you can do that too, but there's no obligation to do any of that. Just be here and enjoy and chill out. I hope everybody's having a good Friday. Just trying to wrap stuff up. I'm gonna go to Sweetwater this weekend, so I'll be there. And yeah, let's do some rig building. Now, I already finished the interface on this particular item, so I don't need to work on that, but I do need to, I think, refasten a few things. And I'm using our new risers on some of these pedals, and I think I've shown these a few times before, but I'll just show them to you anyway. So our new risers, which are not the hinge risers, the things that move up and down, that's a different thing. These are individual pedal risers, and you can see they have a channel here, so you can route cables this way, so horizontally, presuming that you're doing it normally. Or it also has a routing channel so you can go front to back. So if you're using one of these, not only does it raise the height up, but you can also now route cables from multiple directions underneath the riser, which is pretty handy. Because in the old school days when, you just used like blocks of wood, you couldn't go through them, like you have a block of wood there, you had to go around, so you had to like elongate your cable lengths in order to accommodate a riser or something like that. So this makes it really handy to be able to just go right through it. So I don't know if anybody, whether we want to do a vote on this. You want me to finish? You want to see me finish an interface box, or should we get into the pedalboard building? We'll see what the initial commentary says. Put your vote in the comments below. There's only 33 of us, so it should be easy to determine. Let's see. Perfect video for Marcus Jackson. Christian Jones. If I get a PBC 6X, do I have to run the volume into the loop? You don't have to run it into the loop. I guess it just depends on what's... If everything is run into the switcher, then you probably want to run it into a loop, because otherwise you'll have a volume pedal after everything, and that wouldn't be so cool. Hey Wilson L, first time. Have any angled risers? No angles. Everything's just on flat surfaces and then just raised up in height. Glad you're doing this. I want to get an ES8 and use my Brown amplification protein, but it has the splittable sides with TRS, but the ES8 doesn't have TRS ins, right? Well, that splittable insert thing, and we have a protein on this board, that's just so you can split the channels. It's not so you could go into a TRS. So your TRS on the protein side, and it splits out to 2 monos. It would be the same as like, where's that thing? It'd be like buying one of these, where it's TRS and then it splits out to 2 monos. It's essentially what you're doing is you're just doing that to split between the channels. So that's what you're doing there. Okay, people are saying the board, so we're gonna disregard this interface box for now. Let's go to the board. All right, let's get to building. I'm gonna turn this down. It's a little chilly out here, so I'm a little bit more warmly dressed than usual. All right, let me move this over a little bit. Get this more in the middle. right, let's get into some building with the switcher. Should be a good view for you. All right, I gotta reattach this guy. Use some of my power grip Velcro. This I prefer to the 3M Dual Lock, mostly because to get the stick that I want for 3M Dual Lock, I have to use two different sides. So like the densities of this pattern have to be offset. So one is a thicker density, one's a thinner density. For this, I just find that this density is already a great intermediary density, and it sticks really well, and I don't have to offset it with two different types. And I find also it does better in different temperature environments where sometimes the Dual Lock it doesn't like humidity. All right. So we got our PVC locked in. I'm going to lock in these guys as well, and then we'll flip the top. The cool thing about these new risers too is it works really great for Velcro. These were the original style that Fixed Pedalboard was doing, and you can see here that these are much too thin, and I found that unless you bolt these down, they actually kind of bend, whereas these won't do that. So this is the move for sure. And these will all be available at Sweetwater. They've already arrived. So if you want to get one of these, one of our new pedalboard systems, they're already at Sweetwater. I think that they're taking photos of them today, so they're not up on their website. But if you call in, your sales engineer can get you all ordered up. I like to kind of just start first and just put the Velcro in the place where it needs to be. And just kind of use this as a measuring tool using my existing Velcro on there to kind of determine how long it needs to be. By the way, I've said it before, but these scissors with the serrated teeth, these are great for anything Velcro. This is a Crescent Wiss titanium coated. That's good. Cali 76 is down. Kilt is down. Gravitas down. All right. And this is so cool with these because they got that they have that ability to be able to route underneath them. I can just really easily put my power cables and just push them right through. I don't know how well you can see this, but basically it's making it super easy to pull it right through. So I can easily get one of these on the Cali 76. Easily get one of these on the Kilt, and I'm just going to pull it back through this way. Opening up that lid. I'm going to wire them into that Ojai there. That's looking clean right there. Check this out. So we got nice clean cabling there, nice clean cabling there, nice clean cabling there. Chase Bliss will come underneath here. And we're almost ready to just do all of our underneath cabling here in just a second. It's looking great. Well, I have to say, one thing that makes this way easier is, first of all, having the hinge system, right? I mean, when you can build up, you have a tremendous advantage in terms of the spacing. Also, because we have the height clearance, I have two Ojai supplies here that I can use to kind of satisfy all the stuff on top. So I have everything on the bottom row is pretty much taken care of by this, and then everything on the top row is taken care of by the Ojai. The only one that isn't wired into it, I think we're gonna do the origin effects because we want it at 18. So we only have that ability at 18. And then I realized I have to wire one more into the interface because I built in a power pass-through in this. So when you use the insert loop, you can power that pedal that you've used in the insert loop. And so I think other than that, we're looking pretty good. I think these three will go there. These three guys will go there. And these I might need to shorten slightly because it looks like they might be slightly too long for what I wanted them to do. So not too much to do though. And actually I think I have a tuner that goes right here that I need to accommodate. Let's just take a break real quick. Let's see where we are in questions. Greg McClure. So they are, again, already at Sweetwater, and then in order them now. They're there. So they have the risers, the hinged versions, and the standalones. Um, Marcus Jackson, does MIDI quality or MIDI cable quality matter? Is it worth buying expensive MIDI cables? No, I think that as long as it's flexible, that the wire quality is at least decent, but there really shouldn't be expensive MIDI cables. And remember, MIDI for our protocol for guitar, you only need a twisted pair shielded. So you just need two conductors and a ground. And really, you only need two conductors. Technically the ground is only connected on the output side of the MIDI. So like on the switcher, for example, you would connect the ground to the center pin. If this is here, I got a MIDI cable here, or a MIDI plug. So if this is my MIDI plug, the ground is the one in the middle. That would only be connected on this end, and then you're using the two pins to the right of center and left of center. That's all that's needed. So you don't even need to really buy a MIDI cable. You could buy a mic cable. And then on the pedal side, the input, it's only, you can float the ground. Technically, they're doing it in the pedal, or they should be doing it in the pedal. And that's why you see it connected at both ends in most MIDI cables. If you were to take your DVM and buzz out, where everything is, when you've got it set to ohms, you would see that all of them are just connected one to one, because they technically we're anticipating that the manufacturer is doing the MIDI protocol on the pedal, and so they're floating the ground on the inputs, and then they're connecting the ground on the output, or the shield is connected to ground on the output. So that's what they're doing on these. But we have some non-standard stuff here. Like, I'm pretty sure Empress is kind of non-standard in terms of their MIDI. I think Maris is also non-standard. There's some people that are doing some different stuff. So you have to start to learn all the different variations. Let's see. What else we got? How come you never use the gig rig stuff? Would love to see you set up and test a gig rig G3. Well, the truth is they're really not here. I know that Dan and Mick have a really big channel, and I think it maybe makes us think that they're more ubiquitous than they are because of the size of their YouTube channel. I think I've seen 2 gig rig switchers in the United States in my life. So they're not here in the numbers that we see on YouTube. And I think the other reason why I don't use them is I think there's other switchers that I think are better for what I try to provide people with. And that doesn't mean that their switchers aren't great and that Dan's not a great guy, because he is. I just prefer RJM. I prefer Musicom Lab. I think the programming aspect of it is more sophisticated. I think that the way that it's used in a live application is more sophisticated and more in alignment with what we see on major tours here in the United States, and the way that set lists are created, and they have a whole infrastructure for that, which gig rig just doesn't have. And I also just think availability is another big product, or another big component of it. And it's not just me. If you're looking at Rack Systems with Dave Friedman, or LA Sound Design, or Robert Bradshaw, or any of these other rig builders, I think you're equally seeing that there's very, very little, if any, use of the gig rig stuff. And I think it's really because it's not really the quantities with which they're made are not in as big of numbers, at least in the United States, as maybe they are in Europe or in the UK or on the internet generally. So that's all I can really say. Thurston, doesn't the PCB have a MIDI clock? Yeah, so on the Sella, this one has this one's going to be connecting to all of the TRS and 1/8 inch. So this is going to be coming in, and then it's going to be splitting out to like the Ecosystem, the Zoya, the Chase Bliss, the stuff that doesn't have either has TRS 1/8 inch or doesn't have any MIDI through. So we're going to be do it using those for sure. This is the daddy board. This is Bradford Mitchell's rig from Worship Tutorials. And Greg, no, there's no beef. I think that what they do great, and I think it's kind of just a different thing than what I do. If you have a MIDI delay, like a collider, and you wanted to tap tempo with the PBC6X, can you assign functions? Yeah, so you can assign a foot switch to be like a tap tempo foot switch, or you can build an external switch that can do it. And I have a diagram on how to make your own expandable foot switch for a PVC or for an HX stomp and stuff like that. It's all the same. It's just basically a TRS with two momentary switches. Great job, Mason. Dope hair, Marangella. Wow. Okay, cool. Yeah, because lately I've been called consistently one of three: Jack Black, Geraldo Rivera, and then most recently Ricky Lake. So so I don't. None of those are really that flattering. Okay. What's the best way to remove excess solder without any special tools? I'm planning to build a board with DIY patch cables soon. I have problems frying things from scraping away solder. Well, I mean, the easiest way is to get, a solder sucker like this. And these are not that expensive. These are probably $20 or $30. So these are really good. But you can also get like these little solder removal, it looks kind of like it comes in like a spool, kind of like this, and you can kind of solder to it, and it kind of absorbs the solder almost like a sponge. And I know Radio Shack's not around anymore, but you used to be able to get that, which is kind of like a way to desolder things. So that's another easy way to do it, but it's hard to do it with just your iron. I got a DPC5 Gen 3 from Disaster Area. Yeah, those are cool. Yeah, the braided copper with flux. RIP Radio Shack. Yeah. Man, I used to go to Radio Shack all the time. Radio Shack was a sleeper place to buy knobs. Why like gig rig? Well, I don't dislike them. I talked about why I didn't recommend the G3 over other stuff. It's not that I don't think it's great. It's just you hardly see them here. All right, I need to find this tuner that goes here. Where did I do with that? I found it. All right. And we need to add a power cable for that as well. Our power cables, by the way, we sell these on the Rig DR website. We also sell these on at Sweetwater, but this is the thickest power cable you can buy. Like, I've never seen any commercially available that are this thick, and 2-inch length. So like, this is longer than this pedal board. You know how you run into those problems where like sometimes on like flatboards in particular, you need to go really long lengths and you just don't have enough length on the cable to even make it. You'll never have this problem with these. 42 inches is pretty good, but it's also the thickest in that it delivers the same voltage no matter what your length is. You probably know that sometimes with some of these really thin DC power cables that you get, if you have really long lengths, you can sometimes get a little bit of a voltage drop across it. Nothing significant, but sometimes you get a little voltage drop across it. And these just ensure that the voltage that's coming out of your supply matches what reaches the pedal, no matter how long it is. Or at least the length that this is, you're not going to have any issue. So I think we're going to start. This is so cool because I don't even need to dress these underneath these risers. They just fit so perfectly. That turned out really great. I really dig that. So I'm going to start soldering underneath here. And I've got 4 going into this Zuma or Ojai. I've got 3 going into this Ojai, and then I'm going to shorten these guys. I think I'm going to shorten these guys first. We can work on our soldering technique together. First of all, I like using old pillowcases so I can set my iron in here without damaging anything. I got my spool. So I'm going to shorten these guys first because they're a little long. This guy's a little long. And this guy's a little long. So basically, I'm just going to shorten what I already made, just because I'd kind of made it preemptively before I had really had everything set down. So now I'm just going to have to shorten them a little more than I'd originally thought. And I'm not going to zip tie them like super hardcore at this point because I still have to resolder them down here. So I'm kind of leaving myself a little bit of slack so that, yeah, I'm definitely going to have to shorten these up. They're a little too long. So here's where that desoldering question comes in. Sometimes on like small stuff like this, unless you're really precise, it can be easy to damage stuff. I think though, I'll just use my third hand here, and I think I can get in and out pretty quick. Not wreck anything. I think on DC, if you're desoldering, it's a little easier to do the sleeve first. Yeah, that didn't do any damage. These are totally reusable. Now, I mean, if you really cooked them, then maybe you'd have to replace them. But these, I think, are just fine. So what I do to measure these out is I actually stick in the plug, and then I just do kind of a visual measurement of about how long it should be. Cut it, and then we'll re-terminate. the same with the other side, and we'll just solder it all at one time. And I'll take the black covering all the way off, all the way to the hilt there, and then just take a tiny piece off the red, because the red is going to the tip, black is going to the sleeve. Them up a little bit, do a little tinning, just a fancy way to say pre-soldering. I'll bring back my third hand. Insert my plug. I've already got solder on this, so it should be okay. I don't need anywhere near this amount of the shield. So I'll take that away. And since I already tinned it, it pretty much just starts getting a good flow right away. All right, one down. Just to clamp it down. Again, cutting away all of the shield wire there. Don't really need very much of that. Third hand, I might just go free-handed on this. All right, that's good. How long can your fingers tolerate a hot wire? All right. And then let's put back on the housing on each of them. Zip tie them shut, and these should be all to length, perfectly shortened. Double check it here. That looks good. That looks good. I'll give you a little preview here. All right, let's take a look. Turn this guy around. So what I shortened was just these two guys here. So they were just a little bit too long for how they actually needed to be once everything was assembled. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be soldering these 4 wires into the OI and these wires into this OI, which basically are just corresponding to pedals on top there. All right. Let's see what we got in terms of questions. Take a quick break. This is still Bradford's poor guy. Yeah, it is. All right. Trying to figure out where we are. Any way to reduce the compression on your Ultraphonics HRM? Well, you have, do I have one in here that I can talk about? I think I have one in here. Otherwise, I'd show you. But you have 2 different ways to get the gain. You know, so you have like a grit control, you have an output control, like a master control, and you have a volume control. So if you have the volume and the grit up, then you have 2 of your gain stages fully maxed out. So it's about finding the balance between the volume and the grit relative to the master. So you bring the master down, you're attenuating everything on the output section. So you have to get that balance of those two controls. Solder wick, get it on Amazon. Bruce Wilkie, thank you for essentially convincing me to downsize. My hybrid Kemper Schmidt array board was really too large and my goals were unrealistic. Back to basics. Cool. Weird question, but what do your organizer drawers look like for cables, plugs? Let's see. Let's pull it off here for a second. Hold on. Okay, this is what it looks like. So I have like different types of plug types, pancake, stuff that I use fewer of, like right angles and straights, cable management stuff, so that's like zip ties, tie down mounts, sandpaper, dual and risers, MIDI cables, DC cables. And the cut ones are like, maybe I cut them down and they're still usable, but they're not full length. And then the whole cables are the ones that are full length. And then TRS plugs. Looks like it disconnected at some point there, so I don't know where we got left off, but we can come back if there's something else that we missed. All right, let's see where we are. Sorry, I'm trying to go back and figure out where I left off here. Okay, what are your thoughts on temple boards? I think that a lot of people like them. I don't need to use them because I got my own thing, but I could see from like a consumer standpoint, if you wanted something with those customizations, you could dig it. Have you ever used a hinge pedal riser like fix to a pedal train? I've never done it to a pedal train, but you can do it to a pedal train. It just takes a little bit more work to drill it. Okay, I'm watching this on my desk while working. Don't tell anybody. All right, I won't tell. Which reverb do you recommend, Big Sky or Chase Bliss? I think that the best reverb I've been saying it for years. It's right here. It's the best reverb. Here's some more proof. Cornering the market. This is the best reverb. Whenever you find a hardwire Digitech RV7, you buy it. This is the best reverb. Lexicon chip. You don't need any more of these reverb perversions. You just stick with those. Also, the Golden's pretty good too. It has a Lexicon thing on it too. It's not like a Lexicon reverb, but it's similar to that. All right, total noob to MIDI, and we'll be learning more once my rev generator arrives. Wanted to know something like can be used with an old controller. I mean, if it's still a standard MIDI protocol, then yeah. Any advantage of the Strymon over the Chalks? No. In fact, I think the Chalks is more flexible because every output can go up to 18 volts. Put the Source Audio Ventress on your radar too. Yeah, the Source Audio is good too. I like the Ventress. I have a gig tomorrow running 2 amps off an RV7. I have no means of ground isolation or polarity. Well, a poor man's polarity switch is an inverted speaker cable. So let me see if I have a speaker cable here. All right, here's a speaker cable. So here's one side of my speaker cable, right? This is how you can create a polarity change. So you can see here that white is soldered to the tip and black is soldered to the sleeve, right? Now, to make it the same polarity, I would just mirror white to tip, black to sleeve on the opposite side. But if I invert it and I put black to tip and white to sleeve, now I have an inverted polarity speaker cable. So this will allow you, it won't provide any isolation, but it will invert the polarity if your 2 amps are out of polarity or out of phase, as sometimes people call it, although it's really polarity because it's the speaker polarity. One speaker is going this way and the other one's going the opposite way, and so their polarity is reversed. We want to correct that. You can do that with just using an inverted speaker cable. That will solve it. It won't solve the ground issue though, however. You should get something like, I don't think I have one in here, but like a Lely P-split is a great one. If you get our buffer modules when they come out, need. Let's see. Where were we? We were talking about reverbs. We're talking about isolation. Okay. Lower than a DC7. Whoa, I don't know what that is. Yeah, DC7. Oh yeah, DC7 is really short. It's 1 inch. I think all the new chalk supplies are all 1 inch. Are you using the PVC input buffer? Yes, we're using the PVC buffers in this rig. The interface is passive on this rig. This might be a dumb question, but your template for the tri-stereo buffer interface can still run mini if necessary. I think it'd be mono. Yes, it can. Yeah, can do. I'm wrong. Chalks is lower, maybe more outputs. I don't know. Well, Chalks has different versions. They have a DC7 or a Chalk 7, a Chalks 8, a Chalks 4, and then you can kind of combine them and mix and match as you need. Maybe Uncle Mason will see that cue. What's the question? Will this be on your available later? Yeah, it will be. It'll be. This will stay up in perpetuity. Most of the lives end up of lives. Okay, they all end up on YouTube. How hard is it to DIY some sort of polarity switching ground isolation? It's not hard. You just have to have a transformer, the right transformer. If you put that in the question in the comments, I'll link a diagram, but let's see, I got some isolation transformers here. So this is one of them that I think is the best. It's a Triad TY141P. This is bigger than most of them that are in most pedals or switcher oriented stuff. So you'd need this. You'd need a double throw toggle switch and a buffer as well. So you'd want the buffer to be feeding this. Really, a lot of the transformers that we see people use, like Jensen's and things like that, they're putting them on the pedal board, and that's the wrong place for them. Like, they should really be, most of these are designed to be on the input of an amp. So you really should be putting those transformers all the way on the amp side, not on the pedal board side. Because they're not made to then drive the 30-foot cable or whatever. Those transformers are cheaper than a Jensen, but they're more effective in this particular application, or at least as effective as the Jensen. It's not that Jensen's bad, it's just like for $80, it's not. I think I even have a Jensen up here. I think I have one. Yeah, I do. Yeah, so like this is one that you'll see people use on pedal boards, and is a great transformer, but even the guy who designed this, Bill Whitlock, will tell you it is a terrible application to use here, and it's not the right transformer to use on a pedal board. So there's not like this big benefit of using these really expensive ones on the board, because again, they're really designed to be on the input of an amp with a really short cable coming after them. Michael Pope. We have a guitar celebrity. Let's see. Now that many pedals use TRS jacks for MIDI, how do you know when I can use a TRS MIDI cable versus buying separate MIDI box. What are you using for the Empress on this build? So the Empress is 8-inch. So there's a company, I forget what they're called, but you can get, let's see, you can get like this already TRS, bam, already molded. And then you just solder the other side to MIDI. And so you can, so I basically, all I have to solder is the MIDI side. And I can just use, whatever plug I want, whether that's a straight or right angle. And it comes in like I think it's like a 6-foot cable, and it's already pre-molded with the TRS. So I use that for the TRS ends on stuff like the Zoya, where it's an 1/8-inch TRS, or the Boss 200 series is the same way. It's that 1/8-inch TRS. And I got hip to those because our Vertex Boost, it's not MIDI, but it has an 1/8-inch jack for the expression. And so we were looking for high quality cables that were low profile and flexible, and that one checked all the boxes. And if you need the name of that one, Michael, just let me know and I'll get you the name of that manufacturer. Bruce says, "I'll trade you my labor to improve your home network." I think I may just need to trade you some consulting time, because out here in the garage it seems like our internet connection is spotty. So we need an expert to help us with that. I tried using those internet extenders; they didn't really seem to do anything. Wet and cold in Indiana. All right. Well, it says when I'm there, it's supposed to be like in the 60s, so it'll be like the same as it is here. Reverb perversions. One other thing on the Boss ME80, it has certain functions that turn off certain things assigned to it. Is there anything similar on switchers where you have to make a separate preset? So control functions that turn off certain things that's assigned to it. I don't know if I understand the question fully, Total Evo 7. 2 RV7s are almost as much as a Big Sky? Or then get the Polara. That's another one that's very similar. Meaning that I can control a delay with tap tempo and turn it on and off with a control pedal. And then, well, some of the switchers you can have, you can change what the pages do, and they can have different functions when you go to those pages of the same exact pedal. When are the buffer modules going to be out? About a month. Looking at the Goodwood underfacer for my board, I noticed that the output impedance is 500 ohms. Should I add another buffer after it? I wouldn't add another buffer after it. I would just use it, but it's not, it's not as sexy as 100 ohms. Sean Johnson, I've been running my reverbs and delays through the effects loop on my Hot Rod Deluxe. Now I'm using an Iridium. How do I achieve the same things? Just run it after the outputs of the Iridium. What cable length do you recommend for the pedal board to the amp effects loop? I mean, as short as you can get away with, but for most people, that's probably 20 feet each way. Finally stepping up and building a new rig centered all around MIDI. I'm just now getting here today, but I have a feeling I need to go back and watch. We didn't get into too much MIDI, so I don't think you missed anything. It's come to my attention that I need an RJM mini amp box. Oh yeah, they have like a mini amp gizmo. Yeah. All right, Bruce, you can, yeah. Let me know, Bruce, because it's rough out here. All right, let's get back to the rig. All right, and as you can see, I have my pillowcase that I got 5 years ago in Puerto Vallarta that didn't hold up so well to my dog's nails, so it's now become a guard. So I don't know how well you can see this, but we got these 4 cables here that are coming from things on the top, and I'm going to solder it into the Strymon here. But what I like to do to ensure I have a really solid fit is I take the plugs and I remove the housing of each of these plugs, and I kind of put them in place where they're gonna live on the Strymon here. So we got 4 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the reason that I do this, and I take them off and I put them in the actual power supply itself, is because when I route these, I really want to route them directly into where they need to be. And that just helps me take the guesswork out of the fit. And so I know that I'm getting them exactly where I need them to be. I'm going to do a little tone brushing here first. Got to have the tone brush. And I think I'm just going to create a nice little routing line here. I'm going to get my zip ties and tie down belts. And I think I'm just going to follow the line that's already been established by these holes that allow the cables to exit the top row of the pedal board. And I shouldn't need too many of them. Let's start there. And see. I know this is kind of a terrible location for you to see, because it's kind of in the, and I can't really move this thing too much to show you more. So I'll try to go quickly here, and hopefully you can sort of get an idea of what I'm doing. I'm basically just bringing in these DC audio cables a few at a time, just so I can create these nice straight lines that everybody loves. And really the thing about neat pedal board building is, for the most part, it really is just an aesthetic. It wouldn't affect the tone if I were to make this a little less neat. So don't get bent out of shape about your neatness having an influence over the way that the rig is going to turn out. If you don't feel like it looks as Instagram worthy as a Brian O'Million or fill in the blank celebrity pedalboard builder, it doesn't look like a Goodwood audio rig. Almost there. All right. So I got myself a nice loom. I'll show you what I'm working with here, just so you gotta get an idea. So that's kind of what I did here, is I was just bringing in that top row and bringing it into a nice bottom row here, and then I'm going to kind of start to turn the corner and wire them all into this, so they have a really nice looking wire loom going into that O-high, and repeat it with this side into that O-high. Let's just see if we got any more questions here that we need to get through. Any dates for when the Mark II travel boards will be in stock? Well, Sweetwater's got them. 100% know they got them because tracking number says they have them and they photographed them today. I just don't think they're up on the website. So if you call into Sweetwater, they can get you one for sure. Are the Chinese made RV7s the same ones as the USA made ones? I think that they were all made in the USA, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think that I didn't know that there was a Chinese made one. I thought they were the same. But just because something's made in China doesn't mean it's bad. I mean, those UA pedals, they're not made in China. I think they're made in Malaysia, maybe, but they're not made in the US. The live stream watching Mason build and solder is the Gear Nerd equivalent of the Food Network. Yeah, which Food Network person would I be? Would I be like Guy Fieri? I'd be like, yeah, let's put some jack on this pedal board. He always looks like he's drunk and sunburned. Put some jack on it. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you for the compliments. Jeff Green, what impedance is your tone brush? I don't know. However many fibers of hair there are, that's going to be the equivalent impedance. Oh, I think a lot of stuff is influenced by the gram. All right. All right, let's go back. Let's solder in this. See if I can get us. I'm going to kind of turn it at an angle so you can get a little bit better view here of how I'm going to do this. I can hardly even see it honestly as it is right now. It's a little complicated. All right, that looks about right. Let's see. Looks about right. And again, I'm just feeding them into the housings that I kind of took halfway apart just so I can really match up the angle perfectly and get them as close to where they should be as possible. All right, I think I got them all. Our pedal board's losing weight. All those cable ties gone. All right, so basically I cut them all in place where they need to be. So I have them all ready to go. Just gonna quickly strip them off. These are all normal polarity, all 9 volts. Stripping away the black insulation, which is for my sleeve / shield connection to the power connector. Braiding those up. Do a little tinning here. I'm just opening up the housings a little bit because the strain relief is a little too close to maneuver in there. So this just makes it a little easier for me to be able to get where I want to be. Just doing another little bit of tinning. I'm going to end up cutting away almost all of the shield here, because for this doesn't need to be very long to reach. Just going to take off a little tiny bit of the here. Just crimping that strain relief. Tin this plug. Two down. Crimping that guy. Three down. All right, four down. Let's just get them buttoned up, and we'll come back to a few questions. I'll also show you how it looks all routed in there, and see if I need any more tie-down mounts or anything like that to get it looking as clean as possible. 2, 3, 4. We may need one more zip tie to complete the look, but you give me your opinion. Let's pull it off here. All right. So we got all 4 going in here, and I think that that's looking pretty good. But I feel like I need one kind of in here just to kind of hold those guys all together. I think I need one there. But otherwise, we're good, and you can see that's nice and pretty. And we'll make the same true of this side. But let's take a few questions if anything came up. Let's see. Speaking of HX stumps, do you think someone running it last needs an output buffer? Well, I think that the output impedance on it is maybe 500 ohms. You'd have to see. I found that it kind of needed some buffers. What does the RV7 have over the Boss RV5? It's not perverse. Look at this thing. If it looks like this, it has to be great. You couldn't sell a pedal that looks this ugly without sounding incredible. This is a great pedal. I love this pedal. Does the POG have the MIDI mod? Yes, it does. Can you have custom interfaces modified with XLR jacks for those that using a simplifier, or would we need not for ours, but if you're using that, you would just go out of it. Apparently it's balanced, and on their block diagram it doesn't say that. It doesn't show any transformer or any sort of way of doing it, whether it's with op amps or whatever. But yeah, you could use TRS as a pass-through for the XLR, but I would just try to orient it in a place on the board where you have access to the XLR outs, because yeah, our interfaces won't have XLR. I recommend the POG MIDI mod. Yeah, it looks cool. This will be the first one that I've worked on that has it. All the Mogami patch cable is sold out in Australia unless you want to buy 200 meters of it in bulk trying to build a new pedal board. I mean, there's other good cable. It doesn't necessarily need to be Mogami. If you tell me what's available to you, I can recommend another one. Canary is also good. GS4 would be totally fine. Random idea. What if someone made a switcher that could open so that you could put all the pedals inside? Sounds like what Pete Cornish does. If you're using a Strymon Iridium or something similar, how should you handle your signal chain when it comes to delays, reverbs, tremolos? You put it after it. So, because basically you're saying that your Strymon is your amplifier, your cabinet, your room, your mic. And then that processing is going through the output. So in a studio context, you would put delay and reverb in the mix bus after the microphone anyway. So putting it after it is how it would be in real life. I just bought the last RV7 on reverb. Looking forward to it. Yeah, Matthew, it's a great pedal. The other one that's similar to it, I don't think I have one here that's out, is the Polara, which is also made by Digitech, because Digitech bought whatever the licensing was for Lexicon. So yeah, go with the GS4, Adam. That's similar to the 2319. That's a great cable too. Brooks, so okay, tell me, we can lower the bar. We can go up. We can go down. We can low high this thing. Did I catch people off when off guard when I talked about the perverted reverbs? That might have crossed the line. Also, just because I'm seeing here, I'm telling you, this is the best tuner of all time. The Sonic it looks like Sonic Nuisance, but it's Sonic Nuance, because it's got a great buffer, first of all. It's got the great tuner, but it has a DI output option as well that's balanced. And so if you're like a bass player or you want to reamp off the guitar, you got your tuner, you got your buffered output, and you got your DI. So you can literally DI off of the guitar and reamp. It's a really cool tuner. I dig it. The only thing I wish that was different was that the XLR was not on this side, but it was on this side. Because if you were stacking this like on the corner of your rig, right? If you're putting it down here, and you have the DI on this side, you could plug your, you could have your guitar come in or whatever, and then your DI just comes off and you can DI right off of it. This is a hip solution. People are sleeping on the Sonic Nuance tuner for sure. Yeah, it's big, but it's not really that much bigger than a Boss. It's about the size of a Boss tuner, and it's got the DI. Which SP jacks do I use with Mogami 2314? You want to use SP400 and SPS4. How can I get the perverted sound you speak of? You don't want to get a perverted sound. That's why you want to get the RV7, so you don't end up like a reverb perv. All right. Instead of talking about perverts, let's go back to this pedal board. I am cornering the market though right now on RV7s. It's a good thing that somebody just bought up the last one, because I would have been tempted. I would have been tempted to buy it myself. Because I've created a scarcity in my mind that they're running out. I tried to buy a Polarity at the Guitar Center in Hollywood recently that was on display, and they wouldn't sell it to me, and I was kind of bummed. It's like one of those like display pedal boards that, clearly Digitech had given to Guitar Center, but Digitech is no longer in business, so there's like nobody to give it back to. Because Digitech got bought by Samsung, and then Samsung, I think, discontinued their line. Yeah, that's looking slick. I think that's good in there. Let's go to these guys. I'm gonna try to turn this a little bit just so it's slightly easier. Maybe we can can we flip it up a little bit? I don't know. I don't know if that's making it better or worse. I can't tell. Just making a new row for my power cables here. need to change where this guy goes. Now we have all these fancy routing options. I think we're gonna go here. All right, we're getting close here. 3 more cables. So let's just show you what we got so far. All right, we're unhooking. All right, so I basically, again, just taken what's up here. And because we have all those beautiful spaces between and underneath our risers, we can really maximize our space. So those are all coming down through here. And we're going to route them up into this, just like we did over here. We're going to route them up. And then after that, I think I have one more, which is right here. And that's going to route all the way over to this guy, which has a 9-volt through over to this side. You know, so you got your guitar input, you got a send, which is for an audition loop, and a return, but you got your 9-volt in the middle, so you can power the audition pedal that is in the send and return. Then you got a left output and a right output. So we're going to also route one more power cable that's going to come back to here. So we'll have, well, I can have everything pretty much done for power. All right, turn this around. Let's see what we got. Reverb. No, you'll never have to be. If you have an RV7, you'll never have perverted reverb again. I'm assuming it's wet-dry. This is not a wet-dry. This is just a stereo rig, if that's what you're asking. Adam Jones. I got a fussy fuzz pedal and I need to run it first in the chain. Do I just put my buffer straight after it, or do I? Yeah, I just put it right after it. You should be fine. Fu McBar. Mason, when I put my Boss Dimension Waza pedal in the effects loop of my Soldano SLO, the guitar tone loses all the Soldano bite. Well, I think that the Soldano loop is still passive. I also don't think that the Waza can take that level. So, yeah, because I think the Soldano's got, the Soldano has a send level or a return level. I forget what it has on the back. But I know that the newer Soldanos, you said yours is a 2020. I think that they had fixed the effects loop, or at least attempted to, because the original Soldano loops were brutal. Oh God, I remember those. They were brutal. So it may be that it just doesn't like the level that it's sending out. A way that could be cool, if you're open to it, is take the line out, because I think the Soldano has the line out on it with a line out control, and you could attenuate that down and feed that to the Dimension C. Feed a bunch of stereo stuff into a stereo Cab Zeus cabinet power amp emulator, and then feed that XLR into your monitors. You have wet dry wet rig right off the Soldano. That'd be pretty cool. But if you were attached to using the loop, I would not use that pedal in the loop. Typically, Boss pedals in an unknown loop usually are not good at line level. So I think you might have to use that chorus in front of the amp. But you know what? That's where almost everybody use chorus anyway. At least pedal-based choruses. Mark, I've been planning for a small 4 to 5 pedal board. What would you recommend for powering? I think that the where's that supply? Where'd it go? I just had it. Oh, it's the CS7 or the CS6 from True Tone's a good one. Those are small, compact. I think that that's a good one. Are not of the Ojai's piggybacking power from the Zuma. Yeah, they're taking power from the Zuma and then just expanding it out. So the mains are only coming connected to the Zuma, and then the Zuma has its, its 24 volt feed through that's feeding the two Ojai's. My guitar keeps turning my distortion into a fuzz. It sounds awesome, but can't seem to use the distortion normally with that guitar. How can I fix this? Keeps turning my distortion into a fuzz. I mean, what kind of guitar is it? It sounds like it has like a preamp in it or something. I don't know, I guess I need to know more about the guitar. People think that when they play a Clapton Strat, and then they don't realize that it's got that active preamp in it, which will make everything distorted. All right, got my 3 Kobicon connectors. I'm gonna stick them in the supply preemptively so I can measure in. Measure right into them. Get the exact length I want. All right, already measured them. Look at that. I see we got a, oh, Mark, thank you. I don't see a question with it, but if there is a question, we'll get to it. There's two down. Three down. So the housing on these. Let's see how clean of a job I did. Let's see if it works. It's a pretty good fit. This might even be better than the other side. Let's take a look. All right, check it out. Now I think I'm going to add one more timeout right there, but it's about as clean as I can get it. Go into that. So we got this guy on this side, we got this guy on this side, and then we're going to add one more going across here to the interface box, which has a 9-volt output that is to power whatever the audition pedal is in the send and return loops there. So we'll have that one to wire, but that's looking good. Put maybe just we have one more zip timeout there. I think we should be good for this section. I also want to show you this. Check this thing out. This is the coolest AC plug of all time. I found these recently, and they're great for this purpose, and I just made my own IEC back here. But these flat, like straight down AC cords, these things are pretty cool, and then it's got the IEC on that side. So it's got a power module and the interface module in one. All right. Turn this guy around. I'm going backwards. Okay, let's see, we're at Yo soy Carlos. Hello from Kansas City. Is the one spot NW1 US enough for a small pedalboard? I don't know what model that is, NW1 US. I'm not sure which one that is, Carlos. Is that just like the wallboard? Do you have a degree in electronics? I don't. I have a 2-year associate's degree where I studied analog electronics. But my 4-year degree is in sociology. In fact, my diploma's right here. Bam. And I think it says close up. I think it says sociology somewhere on there. And it's signed by Arnold Schwarzenegger because he was the governor when I graduated from college. But I think most people would tell you for this type of stuff, this is real low level stuff. You know, like to work at NASA, you got to know way more than about a couple of diodes and transistors and op-amp clipping. This is all pretty easy stuff comparatively to like what a real engineer has to do. Pickups with hat pedal. Rats can sound a lot like a fuzz face. I don't know if it's like there's like a pickup that's a rat pickup. I always think of it more like what I do for my Strats at least is I have 3 pickup sets all the time. And when I buy a new Strat, I try those 3 pickup sets in different configurations. So I try like one in the neck, like it's the 3 that I always have, and they're just common pickups that anybody can get. Is the 69 custom shop set, the Fat 50s custom shop set, and the Texas Special custom shop set. And I think they're all around 120 to 150 each or something like that if you bought them new. I think you can get them like on Stratosphere or something for less money. And then I'll just try like all 69s, kind of see how the guitar sounds. I'm like, okay, got a bass line. Okay, now let's try a Fat 50 in the middle and leave 69s in the other positions. All right, cool. Yeah, and I actually think that the bridge needs to be a little hotter, so I'm going to go Texas Special now in the bridge. So I kind of mess with different balances because every guitar is different. Like any guy who's like, I love Fralin Blues Specials, it's the only pickup for me, but like, what if the guitar doesn't really need to be complemented by the Blues Special? The way that those pickups are voiced maybe works great with this one particular cut of alder wood that you have, and then another one is way different, you know, and doesn't have the same needs in terms of its balance and the frequencies that the pickups create, or just however it ends up working out. So I find that like actually no guitar of mine has the same pickups, because in some guitars the pickups that I would normally like don't work. They don't sound right in that guitar. So that's why I like buying those 3 sets of Fenders, because I feel like between them I can pretty much determine some combination thereof that sort of meets the guitar where it is. So that's always my strategy with guitar pickups. And I usually set my pickups really low. If you ever look at my pickups, they're barely above the pick guard. And so they're really pretty low. And I think that helps me to be able to get more out of the amp and more out of the pedals. Where would you place a polytune in a 5-pedal Daisy first? And Nick said that too. Also, pedal is a Wampler Sovereign. I don't know what Steel Samurai. I don't know if I understand the question. Do you recommend the ACS1 after or before? I think it's better before, and then you put the ecosystem in reverb. Did you move away from the one-spot CS12 power supply? I asked because mine went out and I had it fixed. No, I still use them. I have nothing against them. They're great. Well, I appreciate that, Mark. Love the Mark II pedal boards. Any future board sizes planned? No. Most of them, you'd like a narrow width 26-inch. Well, we have a 26-inch. You're talking about the depth? The ones that we make are all determined by the case sizes that exist. and what would meet the standard airline criteria. So 2 of our pedal boards of the 4 models are carry-on friendly. The other 2 in the case will typically be under the flyweight size. Your build would be perfect as SA come. I don't know what that is. Do you route your power cables with the riser up like that when you have another power supply mounted upside down? I usually route them underneath even if they're not upside down, just so I can have them all come down into the supply itself. So I'm always doing this technique whether they're on the bottom or not. How well do the zip tie mounts adhesive hold up under hot weather? Well, it depends on the brand, and so this is why, you know, some people were complaining when they saw our pedal board cost video and kind of talking about how much it costs. And they're like, well, I can get tie down mounts for 25 cents. And I was like, yeah, I bet you can. But there's a difference between like a marine grade, which is made to get wet and be outside, versus something that's not heavy duty. And I'll tell you the secret, if you don't want to like go and special order them, the ones they sell at Home Depot are rock solid. And I know if you're in Europe or somewhere else and you're watching this and they don't have Home Depot, it's just a really typical hardware store. But those zip ties, they're big, they're 1 inch, but they're great. They're really good quality. So if I ever get stuck, I'll use those, and they're really good. But most of the ones that you find on like Amazon are garbage. The adhesives are terrible. What do those Digitech hardwire reverbs cost? Actually, there's one on Craigslist right now for 85 bucks in the Bay Area. So if you live in the Bay Area, you think you can get a guy to ship it to you. I'd say on Reverb, they're probably more like 150-ish. And the NW1 is the wall wart. I wouldn't go wall wart. I think you still got to go isolated. Ron Williams, I've heard that you don't need an input buffer if you connect to the pedal board wireless. Yes, the wireless is the input buffer. Matt, you might have to give up your Sweetwater rep. Or you might have to give your Sweetwater as a heads up that they have the boards in stock. I called them the other day when Vertex told me to check the shop, and they told me to check the shop and they'd been delivered that morning. Yeah, they're definitely there. Matt, I'm 100% sure they're there because I just got a email from the photo guys, and they're just like, hey, we want to let you know that it took us longer to take the photos of all the pedal boards because our 360-degree, like whatever, it's like a mechanical lazy Susan that they use to get all the angles of the pedal boards broke, and so they had to like wait 2 hours to get it fixed before they could continue shooting. So I know that they're there because they were photographing them today. What's your favorite MXR pedal? Ooh, they got a lot of them. I like the flangers. The 117 flanger, Phase 90, and the Dynacomp are probably my favorite. And vintage ones, of course. I have a vintage Dynacomp somewhere around here. Oh, here it is. Dynacomp. And the ones you want, if you can't get a script, is just get the one that has the script in the bottom corner there. So you can get like a later 70s, and it still is the same circuit as, you know, the desirable mid to early 70s ones. This is a great compressor. Steel Samurai. I don't know how much I helped. I think almost the people in the comments helped you more. Maybe that's who you're mentioning, but anything I did, I'm happy to help. Tone Dilemma, Demeter Compulator or Diamond Compressor. I love the Compulator. That's a great pedal. Guitar pedals on bass, all good. Do it. Thoughts on the Boss DA2 Active Distortion? I don't know if I've heard of it. Kimball, what's up, man? What is your preference? Daisy chaining MIDI cables from in to out on every pedal, or using a MIDI splitter? I think it just depends on how many pedals there are. The MIDI splitter can be great because it can reduce clutter a little bit in some ways, but sometimes they don't fit that well. Randy Becker, can you recommend a good book about electronics for pedal boards? I don't know if there's any for pedal boards. In fact, there might be one. I think that the guy from Free the Tone, Yuki, I think his last name is Hayashi, maybe. I think he wrote a book, but it might only be in Japanese. I don't know if it's been translated or not, but I think it's a digital book, and I think you can get it on Amazon. Um, and he's a smart guy, and has cool products and does a lot of pedalboard stuff. And so I'm sure that there's value in the book for sure. That'd be the only one I can think of. Let's get this guy finished up, at least for power. So I got this last one to do. I have to disrupt my nice cable routing over here. I think otherwise we got everything dialed in. This will be a little easier for you to see. I'm basically just adding this one extra power connection for the interface box, because we ended up adding a DC jack to it so that you could power your Audition pedals with this added tap. So I'm having to undo some already put down, but that's okay. It's part of it's still looking clean. stops there. I'm gonna go free-handed here. This is a little too tight, I think, for the third hand. Let's get the housing on it, and then all of our power should now be done. All right, let's take a look. Let's do one full shot here. It's fully assembled for the power. Gotta get a little tone brush in there. It's connecting into there, so we got power now going through to there. Power to the katana, steel string RJM. We got power going into the two O-highs, to everything on the top. And then you can see where I've cornered the market on RV7s. All right, let's see if there's anything we want to finish with here. Oliver or Olivier, hello from France. All right, we talked about books. Something about multimeters. Well, I think one of the guys that got kind of a great stuff on just like electronics is Craig Anderkin or Jack Orman. Those guys are usually have pretty good stuff, or RG Keen. Those guys all are kind of pedal guys. Any recommendations for Bosch E7 mod? Exactone for sure. What applications could I use MIDI on the HX Stomp for on a board that has no MIDI pedals on it? Well, you would just use it to change MIDI functions on the HX, or you could put an external switcher, not the foot switch, but like the loops, and then use the HX to trigger the HX becomes your MIDI switcher in that particular way of doing it, which I've done before. I have a rig that I did that does that. Is there a standard logic for signal chain? Standard logic for signal chain. Yeah, well, we have a signal path video that you can check out, but yeah, I think that's what you're asking. Check out our signal path video. I like how the chat stops completely while we all watch him work. I don't know. Maybe there's something to say. What are the best power supplies? I think in no particular order: Chalks, Strymon. The newest Voodoo Lab Pedal Power 3 Plus is really great in their module X8, X4. The True Tone, CS12, CS6, CS7. Yeah, so Strymon, Chalks, Voodoo Lab, True Tone, those are all pretty great. Switch modes are great. FYI, all your new boards are posted on Sweetwater. Sweet. Nice. Hey Mason, I've been watching you a lot in the past and following your instructions. I have an ES8 that I want to get rid of for a more reliable switcher. I think you should get either the RGM PVC-10 or the Musicom Lab EFXLE Mark 6. I think those are the two best switchers out there. It's cold in Oakland now. Yeah, it's what's it right now? It's 51, which is unusually cold for here. Yeah, so our showroom and all of our manufacturing is in LA, but I personally live in Oakland, but ordinarily I'm in LA a couple times throughout the month. What switcher can I buy to connect 4 stereo in and out pedals, H3 H9s? Which switcher can you 4 stereo in and out? 4 stereo in and out. Well, 4 stereo in and out. I don't know if they can do, well, you could sacrifice a loop and do stereo. You could use 2 loops for stereo. I think that the PVC actually, no, the PVC can do stereo. It can do, I think 3 or 4 stereo loops. And I think the 6X can also do it with the TRS cables. So the PVC 6X could do it right away. I have a G2 and it's incredible, so easy to use. All right, well then it sounds like he's into the G2, the gig rig stuff. I think that they're fine. I just don't think that they're better than the RGM or the Musicom Lab. About how much space is needed on the back of a looper like a PVC to accommodate for cabling? Well, I'd say like if you're looking here, right, and let me just grab one of the cables I've already made for this. So you really should be going with straight, and then you don't want it to like just be right up against it, so you want to be able to have some relief. So that's, let's see, where's my measuring tape? So I'd say something like probably around two inches from here, like the edge of the switcher, is probably about what you need. But I mean, as you can see, we have way more space than that with these types of pedal boards. I could stick it off quite a ways, and I could set another group of tie-down mounts here to gather all those audio cables. Phase before flanger, flanger before phaser. Well, it only matters if you use them together, but I think typically you saw people using phasers first and then flangers, like Eddie Van Halen. Yeah, I think he used phaser then flanger. usually the recommended power supplies everybody talks about are very expensive. Do you have an affordable alternative? The cheapest one, I think, or the best for the money is the True Tone. I mean, it's still expensive, but it's almost $100 cheaper than its nearest competitor, Burbank or LAX. Um, well, for me, I fly into Burbank because our showroom is like parallel to the tarmac. So I usually fly into Burbank when I fly into LA. And also, like, the Oakland airport's pretty close to where I live here, so that's an easier flight from Southwest. Hey, from Portugal. How do you feel about the Morningstar in general? I think that's totally fine. I just don't like the systems that are disaggregated like that. I think it's easier when they're just integrated as one thing. So I just prefer things like this, like the PVC6. Yeah. So I think we're good with this guy for power. I'm probably going to try to wire in some MIDI here this afternoon, but I need to finish this interface box for old man Don Carr at Sweetwater, because we're going to be building him a rig that Sweetwater is going to be filming, and he wanted some custom one-off things that are not part of the normal interface boxes. But this is one of our custom, or this is like how the interface box is going to come, that is carried at Sweetwater, because there'll be not only the module style, but there'll also be the kind of standalone style for the people that don't want to use one of our pedal boards, which that's really all you can use for the module style. But there'll be a style that's more like this, that will have 5 different jacks per side, 4 buffers, effects loop, stereo outputs, isolation transformer, all the stuff that you need. So this is I'm gonna finish customizing this one for Don, and I can hang on here and probably do it if people want to see that. Otherwise we can discontinue the stream. If people want to see me wiring up an interface, we can do it. But otherwise, I think that's all I'm going to do on this pedal board for right now. And then I'll get into some MIDI a little later on, maybe today. I got to run a few errands because I'll be at Sweetwater next week. So a few things I have to do before the end of the day. Don just filmed an amazing rig rundown with Josh Smith. Cool. Our keyboard player has a Pod 500X power cable and says it needs 3 amps. I would be surprised if it really drew that. Usually line 6 just came with the same power supply for everything. So they didn't they didn't say how many they really drew. How many pedals could I use in the HX Stomp loops? Well, usually what you do is you use one of the loops to wire in just the loop switcher part, like a Morningstar or a RJM, what is it, like pedal gizmo or whatever it is, the one that's like basically just the send and returns, no foot switches. And then you connect that to MIDI to the HX, and the HX becomes the foot controller that then triggers the different loops on the switcher. Avi, come back to Maui soon and bring me an RV7. All right. I'm gonna collect more. I have 3 here already. I think we have another one in the LA showroom. So yeah, next time I'm in Maui, I'll bring you an RV7. We'll smuggle it in. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, I don't think they're doing thumbs down anymore on YouTube. I think it just shows us thumbs up. So, I mean, give it a thumbs down if you didn't like it, but I won't know. Thanks for whoever did the super chat. I think it was Mark. Thanks, Mark. And I won't be here. I probably won't be here next week because I'll be at Sweetwater, but the week after we'll do some more pedalboard building. It's good to see everybody. Happy Friday.